All right, great. So welcome to this event with the Southern Vermont Young Professionals. Today we're doing the first in our pandemic pressure point series. This one is in self-care and massage. So we're recording so that folks can watch this at their leisure or catch up if they're coming in a little bit late. Just as a reminder, I think everyone on here knows this, but we've got the Young Professionals has a trivia event coming up on December 27th. Really excited for that. Should be fun. Winners and participants will have the opportunity to win gift cards to local restaurants. So we're excited about that. So I will go ahead and turn it over to our awesome host this evening. We've got Britt and Micah.
Hi, everybody. My name is Micah Ranquist. I'm a massage therapist. Welcome to my office here at Riverbend Chiropractic, Dr. Schmidt's office. I'm going to have Dr. Schmidt on the table today while we're doing a little bit of work. But I figured I would start with kind of why we're even doing this. Why are we looking at somebody else doing some massage work on someone? And the idea is that, right now we're kind of encouraged to stay home as much as possible. And in some cases, we can't really run the risk of going out to a chiropractor's office or massage therapist's office to get some body work to help deal with stress and pain that we might be feeling because everything's crazy right now. And so I figured I would take just a few minutes and show a few very simple techniques that people can use on one another to help alleviate some of that. And these are useful at any time, not just during a pandemic. So, for those who maybe just aren't comfortable going to get a massage anyway, if you've got someone at home that you're more comfortable with, then you can use some of these things. So for starters, I always like to cover, whenever I do a thing like this, I like to cover safety, both safety of the person that's on the table, but also safety of the person who's doing some body work. In this case, that's going to be me. And it always starts with communication. So anytime that I have someone on the table here at the office, I always make sure through various ways of communicating with them that they're cool with getting on my table and receiving some body work. So today that's Britt. Are you good with having some body work?
I am.
All right.
I'm excited actually.
So while she's getting on the table, I'll talk a little bit about something that I did a little research on the internet the other day. And, so I have this fancy massage table. I don't remember how much I paid for it. It's kind of expensive, but it holds like 600 pounds and it's got like super plush padding and stuff. But I went on to the Amazon and I found that you can get a basic massage table. It'll look a lot like this, but the material may not be so great. But it's made of beech, holds 450 pounds. And if you have one of those Amazon accounts, it's free shipping and it's $90. That's not a real big, excuse me, we just ate. That's not a real big spend, right? $90 to be able to have something at home that you can work on each other with. And I don't remember the name of it right now, but it's pretty easy to find. I get a lot of hair. Okay, so the next part, we've asked if it's okay to do some body work. The next part would be to ask, even though you just asked them, is it okay to do some body work? Is it okay if I go ahead and put my hands on you?
Yes.
Okay. So I have an analog that I brought. So we're going to do just a tiny bit of anatomy. We're going to think about what it is that we're working on. We've got these different muscles that are tensed up, for whatever the reasons might be. And it's important to think about how muscles are made so that we can think about how we might help to alleviate some of the stress in them. And this is my analog. It's a skein of fancy yarn. This is meant to represent muscle fibers. Okay, they're arranged in the body very similar to this. There'll be long strands of fibers. Sometimes they got a bit of a twist to them. Sometimes they don't. and they're commonly bundled together. We have a few different options when we're talking about how to get some of this stress in muscles relieved. One of those options is a common thing that we think of when we think of massage, and we think of, pushing on muscles and squishing muscles between our body parts and their body parts, and that ends up getting things ironed out or whatever. So in this analog, that's kind of what we're doing. We can take this and we can push and squish and get muscle fibers to separate and relax. The other thing that we can do that often doesn't get thought of is we can stretch them too. And today we'll learn a little bit of squishing and mushing, but we're going to do kind of a lot more stretching than squishing and mushing, because for a couple reasons. One, outside of people like us who it's our job to know all these muscles, you may not know them all that well, so you may feel like you're running the risk of hurting someone. But with stretching, it's much easier, much less likely to cause injury, provided you're not going all crazy with it and yanking on body parts. So let's start with a little bit of squishing. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just do a couple of passes over Britt's back, and just do a few squishing things. And everyone just kind of watch what I'm doing, keeping my shoulders down. I'm not locking out my elbows. I'm not keeping my wrists at this sharp angle. I'm not keeping my hands wide open and trying to dig in my thumbs. Everything's nice and relaxed. And all of the pressure is in the heels of my hand. Now, Casey, is this thing open up for people to ask questions while I'm working, like in the chat or whatever?
Yep. If people have questions, they can enter them into the chat. I'd be happy to read them out as well. If they can unmute also. So whatever people are most comfortable with.
Okay, cool. So while you're working, while you're doing some real simple stuff like this, let's think about kind of what we're doing. We're doing some squishing of muscles. So it's important to know if we're being effective or not so good, over effective. Easiest way to do that is to check in. How's the pressure, Britt?
Feels good.
Okay. Okay, so that was just kind of a real simple pass over the length of her spine and back up. What about, let's say maybe you don't have a table like this. You don't want to invest in a table like this. What are some of your other options? Let's say in the same orientation that I'm standing now, maybe I'm down on one knee on the ground and the person I'm working on is just lying on a yoga mat. So in that scenario, this would not be a comfortable thing to try to do. You'd end up hurting your shoulders, hurting your knees. But if we take it from the side and work on just one side of the spine at a time, we can accomplish that. So same thing, everything's nice and down, nothing's really locked, hands are loose, all the pressure is in the heel of my hand, and I'm just finding the spine and pushing down and out.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
So when we talk about knots or kind of bunched up muscles, can you kind of describe what that actually is, like what's happening with the muscles and kind of what your goal is and kind of working with it?
There's a little bit of controversy over even using the word knots, but the very simplest explanation is that there is one of these fibers that we talk one of these fibers that we're talking about within a muscle, maybe just one little smaller than a pearl-sized piece of it has become super tight or hypertonic, it's called. And that one little tiny pearl of super tight muscle ends up affecting all the muscles around it. So everything around it gets just a little bit more tight, and it's kind of this cascading thing and refers pain everywhere, but it's commonly just one little tiny thing that gets the ball rolling. Does that start to answer the question?
Yeah, that's great. So are you trying to kind of get in there and kind of help that one little like tightened pearl or like relax a little bit by sort of the stretching or the pushing?
So what this is doing, this is called myofascial release. So in the same, my analog, I might as well just keep the analog up here. This same analog, we have all these muscle fibers, and the part that I didn't explain is that each of these muscles, not these little fibers, but this muscle as a whole has this sheath of soft tissue that's wrapped around it. It's called the fascia. It's all over the whole body. All the muscles are covered with that stuff. So what I'm doing with this is I'm going across the directions of what the fibers might be, and I'm stretching out that fascia so that the musculature has room to move around a little more, and hopefully the body can relax itself. Essentially, the brain will tell the body, hey, it's not so tight there now, so we don't have to be all tensed up all the time. And much of the time it works. But sometimes it doesn't, and that's why we got chiropractors.
That's great. Thank you.
So in this, again, with what I'm doing, we have the option of I can keep everything nice and loose, shoulders down, elbows not locked, hands not locked. But if the person that's on the table wants more pressure, then all I need to do is let gravity come in. You always check in with your person about pressure, but I've worked on Britt a bunch of times, so I know that she's fine with more pressure than what many people might be okay with.
Coming up on 12 minutes.
Oh, 12 minutes. Okay. So that's kind of just a little bit of some of the idea of squishing. Now, we talked about stretching, right? That's another way to get these muscle fibers to relax. In this orientation, we've got some options for stretching. We'll do just one here. And always check in with your person. Do you have any shoulder injuries I should know about? No. No injuries. Okay. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take Britt's arm. Can everyone see clearly what I'm doing? Hopefully.
It's over there.
So I'm taking this, I'm pulling out, and we can check on this. You can feel right down along her side, everything's starting to stretch. Put a little bit more weight into it, pull, keep the tension, and then slowly release it. Do that, a couple of different times along this orientation. You can do the same thing with the person's face up. Another stretching option might be for a person's low back, would be something like this, but you're not supposed to help. She happens to be extremely flexible. I could probably put her heel in the back of her head, but so that's another good stretching thing that you can do that's pretty safe for everyone to do without really hurting one another. Any questions about stretching? No, not really? Okay, so we're going to switch up here for a second. I'm gonna break it up. We're gonna move this table and put in a massage chair because that's another option. Back chair. Okay. That's not going to be enough room for me to move.
Just gonna straddle it here.
So in this, this kind of situation, this would be where at home you have someone, sitting at a dining room table and they're sitting in a chair and they've got their arms out across the table. Maybe they got a pillow under their chest, something like that. There is the option of this kind of thing, like what I was doing on the table, which is what I was taught, but I choose not to do that. So I use this kind of movement. And notice how throughout all of this, there's something missing that I've seen and heard about so many, many times when people are talking about doing massages. And a very common question that I get is, how do you do that all day without your thumbs giving out? I don't use my thumbs at all yet. That's how I do it all day. I don't use my thumbs very much.
So are there any benefits to this sort of semi-seated position versus, like face down on sort of like a table type thing?
Yeah, it's going to be, this is a little more about the comfort of the receiver. Not everyone, some people feel very vulnerable lying down on a table. And some people don't. So this, working on the shoulders here, a lot of times you think about working on someone's shoulders and you're doing this kind of movement where you're reaching down across and pulling, using your thumb and squeezing together. And I'm not doing that. I'm keeping my thumb up. I'm squeezing with just the fingers and the palm of my hand, because this is the most prone place in your hand to become hurt trying to do body work on someone. So what if you do want to use your thumb? What do you think you might do? How do you think you might accomplish using your thumb without running the risk of hurting yourself? So in a scenario like that, if we want to work on someone's back, like right close to the spine, for example, with our thumb, which we could just do with our elbow, but what we do is we keep your hand nice and closed. You don't have to have it locked tight, but nice and closed. Have your thumb sticking out, and always keep your thumb right on that knuckle, nice and tight. And then now we can use our thumb without running the risk of hurting ourselves. And this can get, very intense once you get used to doing it. I made her twitch a little bit.
Yeah, I prefer the longer strokes than the thumb.
This one?
Yeah. It feels better on the receiving end for me personally.
So what if we have a scenario where we want some much greater pressure on an area, say like this top of the shoulder part here, and this bit without using our thumbs to pinch, we're just not strong enough. Our hands are not strong enough to do that. So that's where we bring in our forearm. I'm not digging in with my elbow. And I'm not way up here by my wrist, just kind of part way in. Nice lean on it. Move it around a little bit. And these are things that we're not just, making up for this little seminar thing. This is how I do my work every day.
You probably want my arms to be down, not up on a table if you're doing that, right?
No, not necessarily. So if we actually can have your arm to be fully relaxed, no, it's fine.
Okay.
I hadn't thought about that. That's a good point. So I'll just work a little bit with some other thoughts. I'm not really going to say a whole lot more, but we can use your forearms this way and go all the way down the spine. You can dig in with your elbow if you want, but don't really need to. Most of the
Coming up
time.
on 20.
What's that?
Coming up on 20.
Coming up on 20.
So I just wanted to jump in with a question. So for, unfortunates like myself who are doing who are going to have to do, self massage type things, what are some, do you guys plan on kind of going over that as well?
Yep, that's where the good doctor's coming in.
Awesome. Thank you.
Just about 90 seconds. Some self-massage stuff is also accomplished by tools. Like I have one that I use here quite a lot that I can give to Brittany. She can show it to you. So now I'm breaking my own rule. I'm using my thumbs, but I'm not really pushing hard. I mean, I'm pushing hard with my hands, but I'm not really digging in hard with my thumbs. I'm just kind of using them as like a spreading motion sort of thing. Okay, so we're at about 20 minutes or so. So you're cooked.
Yeah, now I have to talk. I'm all relaxed.
And then the tool that I was talking about is this thing, if you have interest in.
Oh yeah, that was a cool device there. Just gonna move your chair away. Probably have a nice massage ring around my face.
We didn't think that was through.
We didn't think that one through. All right, so I'm going to talk a little bit about self-care, and that's super important right now. Can you hear me okay? All right, I'm going to take that as a yes.
Yep. Sorry.
It's okay. So, a lot of self-massage is a little bit trickier, so I like using tools like a foam roller is really great to roll out your low back or roll out, your IT band. Those are actually pretty inexpensive and can be found at a lot of different places, and I'm sure Amazon has a good selection of them. And I would say that's probably one of the better ways to do in areas that are harder to do self-massage, like your low back. Another really great trick that I tell patients all the time is to take a tennis ball or a lacrosse ball and just do some really gentle trigger point therapy with that, rolling it on your back, putting it up against the wall, rolling your glutes on a tennis ball feels really nice, or on the floor. I like taking for self foot massages. You can freeze a water bottle, and then you get the cold therapy, and then you can just roll your foot on the water bottle. So that's it. That's a lot of the tools that you can use that a lot of times they're pretty easily accessible. If you want to just do like a little bit of gentle massage work on your hand, same thing. I don't know if you could see with Micah, but he was doing a lot of just very gentle, long strokes, nothing like really jabby or, you don't really want to dig in there. So this part of your hand can get really crampy after holding our phone all day or on our mouse. So just like doing some really gentle massage there. You can even go up the arm, and same thing, just like he was doing, those like really gentle strokes where you're putting you're contacting the muscle and then just kind of moving it down. It's nothing really like jabby or pushy there. That's where it gets to be uncomfortable. You can do a little bit, in the shoulders too, like start here and just kind of push down, follow that muscle belly all the way down the shoulder. Be really, really gentle there. It's really easy to overdo it. But But yeah, just it's nice when you're working on yourself because you can adjust the pressure as needed. You don't need to constantly check in for feedback. You know, if it feels like it's too much, back off a little bit. Sometimes less is more. It's not always to like just suffer through it because then you end up becoming tighter and more sore later. So I would say just be really aware of that. Don't go too deeply or too hard. Anything that's like, you know, kind of hurts so good or is like that weird pleasure pain sensation, that's okay to play with that dynamic a little bit. But if it's really intense, burning, electric, pinching, like back off for sure. Sharp shooting, anything like that, you want to back off on your pressure. Another thing you can do is just to avoid you know, tension altogether. So a lot of people are working from home. So making sure your workspace right now is set up in the most ergonomically best way possible. So sit stand desks are really popular. I'm a fan of standing desks. Make sure you're swapping back and forth between sitting and standing. You know, we're not designed to sit all day, but standing all day might not be best either. When you are sitting, just want to go over a proper sitting posture here. You want to make sure your feet are planted on the floor here. Said it's really popular to cross legs or kind of do this thing or even this thing here, but make sure your feet are planted. You want your you to have some nice lumbar support. So roll up a towel, grab a pillow, or buy a lumbar support pillow. Your low back will thank you. You want your knees to be right at 90 degrees there. And I don't have a desk in front of me, but if I did, I would want to make sure that my monitor is eye level and that my keyboard is down. So I'm not doing this thing. And then I tell patients all the time to check in with themselves as they're working. So set an alarm on your phone, set a timer about once an hour, just do like a quick head to toe body scan. So I always say, you know, start up here. Make sure you're not like furrowing your brow, you're not clenching your jaw, your shoulders aren't up by your ears. Like just soften, let your tongue fall from the roof of your mouth, let your shoulders sink down nice and low, that your lower traps and your lower shoulder muscles are engaged in keeping your shoulders down, that your core is engaged, that your low back is supported, that you're not holding tension or clenching your glutes at all, and that you're really nice and have a nice stable base for you in your knees, and that you're not putting any pressure on your knees by leaning too far forward. So just doing that, like check in, getting up, going to get some water, taking a stretching break, checking your posture, making sure your sternum is up, shoulders are back and down. If you sit, here's another tip. If you sit with just your palms up for a few minutes, practice like a few deep diaphragmatic breaths, that'll really realign everything. So you don't want to be caved in. A lot of times what I see in practice is people, they don't have good lumbar support, so they cave in here, shoulders instantly round forward, and neck juts forward like that. This is bad. Don't do that. So lift your sternum up, shoulders back and down, tuck your chin in a little bit. So those are some basic things. And then really quick, I just wanted to leave you with probably the stretches I recommend to people the most. So when you are taking those breaks, some of the stretches that you can do, the first one I'll show you is called the Piriformis Stretch. And the piriformis is a muscle that goes right across your backside here. And it's one that gets really tight with a lot of sitting. And it's problematic when it gets tight because the sciatic nerve, you've probably heard of the term called sciatica, goes right under that muscle. So if it's tense and tight, you can put a little bit of pressure on that nerve and you might feel pain all the way down your leg because that's a very large nerve in the body. So making sure your piriformis muscle is stretched out is a really important thing. And almost everyone has a tight piriformis. So to do that, you're going to sit up straight. You're going to bring one leg over to the other. Don't push down here. You just want to do what's natural for your body. So this might be enough of a stretch for you. If that's the case, stop. If you're able to go a little bit further, just kind of rest your hand here. Again, I'm not pushing. You're just going to lean forward with your chest. And you should feel that hip instantly open up. You should feel the stretch happen almost instantly. So you don't want to, so I'll show you from the side here as Casey's replacing me. So this is another viewpoint of it. So a lot of times I see people do this. To lean forward, just kind of like crouching their shoulders, going in like that. Keep your chest open and just gently lean forward, and that'll open it up a lot nicer. Another one I'm going to show you is called YTWL, and it's exactly how it sounds. I give this one to almost everybody. So you're going to bring your arms up into a nice Y and then into a T here. So this really opens up that chest. You're gonna bring elbows into your side, just like this, into a W. And when you're here, you really wanna squeeze shoulder blades together, sink your shoulders really low and down. This is probably the most important part. So when I tell people, when I said earlier, like make sure your lower traps and lower shoulder muscles are engaged, this is what it should feel like. And then lower down to an L. And you can do that a couple times, just Y, T, W, L. And just go through that a few times during your day. You can't do that enough. It's a really good one. And then the next one is for upper traps, because so many people have trap tightness here. So I like bringing your ear up to your shoulder. You're going to gently tip your head away here, and then slowly sink down here, and then let that shoulder drop. And then it should open it up, ear to shoulder. I said that backwards. But yeah, so just shoulder up, tilt head, and then slowly let that shoulder drop. Yeah, that made more sense when I explained it that way. So those are some just really basic stretches. And then really, guys, the thing with self-care is just making sure that you're checking in with your body regularly, that you're not holding tension, that you're drinking enough water, that you have the basics of nutrition down, that you're feeding yourself regularly, that you're getting adequate sleep, and that you're maintaining a life that doesn't feel like you need to escape from constantly, or that doesn't make you stressed out or tense a lot. So sometimes that means doing the more challenging things and taking initiative and doing things that are a little bit more difficult, but sets you up for more long-term success. So those are just some basic self-care tips. If you have any questions, I'm open for that. But yeah, just be taking care of your body right now, because this is a really stressful time for everybody. So I will kind of leave it at that and open it up to any questions that anyone might have.
I have a question.
Yeah.
What can be a good way that we can stretch our own neck that doesn't feel like we're gonna hurt ourselves?
Oh, so the question was, how can you stretch your neck? The trap one was really good. Just going through a really basic range of motion. So side to side, again, not pushing it. So this is where we bring ear to shoulder, and then rotate from side to side like this. Can slowly bring chin to chest, and then slowly back up into extension. A really great neck stretch is called a chin tuck. Not the most flattering thing in the world to do, but essentially it's to undo that jetting forward that I talked about. So it's tucking your chin back, not down, but straight back. So it's retraction. And I like to do that when I'm driving up, because I can just go right up against the headrest there, or you can stand with your heels about 6 inches from the wall and just push your head into the wall there. That's another way of stretching it. And then another nice thing too is just to roll up a towel, put it behind your neck, and lie down on the floor, and just let your really sink your upper back into the floor or mat there, and just open that up. So those are some good neck stretches. I know neck pain is a tough thing, and then just make sure you're taking care of your neck, that you're not holding your phone constantly down here. I see people do this a lot. Bring it up to eye level. Same with like books if you can. Just be making sure, like I said, that you're doing those preventative things. Any other questions? Okay. If you do, you can always reach out. I'm on Instagram and Facebook. Yeah, but I've enjoyed this, and I hope other people have as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
I went that really fast. So if anyone wants to see them again or clarification on any of them, let me know.
I mean, I have a real quick question on the YTWL one. Thinking about your hand positioning, is there a specific sort of like way that you should have your hands turned out?
Yeah, so just keeping palms up, I would say, keeping, things loose and relaxed up here. So it's not like super rigid, right? We're loose in our movements. But yeah, you want palms up like this when you're doing that. And yep, YTWL.
Great.
I used to just what was it? It was YWT, and it used to be You Will Thrive, which is a really good mantra, but it just is it flows really nicely when you do the YTWL. I'm gonna have to come up with another way people can remember that.
Yeah, that mnemonic makes it a little bit more like an aerobic exercise than like.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. That I know personally that it was hugely helpful just to, again, have that reminder of get up over the course of the day, move around, do those body check-ins. Yeah, that's really
Yeah,
great.
and I didn't really talk a lot about standing posture, but I did do a video on my Instagram about that. So there is a correct way to stand, correct way to sit, correct way to breathe, correct way to get in and out of your car. So a correct way to walk. It's so funny. Patients all the time come in and they're like, "Oh, I didn't know had to learn how to breathe and sit again. Like I thought I had that down." But there are some really basic things that you can modify to just help your overall health and body. A lot of them is standing correctly, sitting correctly. Make sure you're breathing with your diaphragm. You're not engaging your chest and neck muscles when you breathe. A lot of people do that, especially in high stress or high tension situations like 2020. Just so using that diaphragm, engaging down here when you breathe, sending breath fully down into your body is an important piece. So a lot of people forget.
Great. Awesome. Yeah, if anyone has any last minute questions to hop in with, feel free. I think I may have accidentally set it so that all the questions go to me. So
That's okay. And I just want to say a little disclaimer. This is not medical advice at all, just educational purposes only for both Micah and myself. And obviously check with your doctor before doing anything that seems to be in.
Or come see you.
Or come see me. I'm your doctor.
awesome. Well, thank you both so much for your time and for all of this great information this evening.
Yeah, you are welcome. Thank you for having us. Again, Micah Ranquist at Brattleboro Bodyworks. He's at Riverbend Chiropractic, which is right now Anderson Chiropractic. The name is changing very soon. And I'm Dr. Schmidt.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Brittany and Micah.